You never really forget the sound of your own heart breaking. It's not a loud, dramatic shatter like glass on marble. No, for me, it was a quiet, internal snap, a tiny thread, stretched too thin for too long, finally giving way, and it happened on what was supposed to be the proudest day of my life. The sun was a brilliant, shameless gold in the sky. I remember standing there, in my black robe, the stiff cap perched on my head, the tassel swaying with every nervous breath. The stadium was a sea of roaring sound, cheers, applause, the triumphant blast of the orchestra. The air itself vibrated with joy and pride. I scanned the crowd, section by section, row by row. My eyes were searching for two faces, just two. My mom's proud, tear-filled smile. My dad's awkward but enthusiastic thumbs up. My name echoed through the speakers. Maya Evans. That was my cue. I walked across the stage, my handshake with the dean a blur, the diploma case cool and smooth in my grasp. The applause washed over me, but it felt distant, like hearing a storm from inside a sealed jar. My eyes never stopped searching. Seat 24B, row J, section 5, that's where they were supposed to be. That's the seat I'd circled so carefully on the map I'd emailed them. Seat 24B was empty. It was a void in the middle of a celebrating universe, a perfect, silent, screaming emptiness. The rest of the ceremony was a slow-motion nightmare. I sat through the speeches, the cheers for other people's children, the final, thunderous applause. All I could feel was the cold, hard truth seeping into my bones. They weren't here. They had skipped my college graduation. As the crowd began to disperse, a frantic buzzing came from my purse, buried beneath my robe. My phone. I fumbled for it, a desperate, foolish hope flaring in my chest. Maybe there'd been an accident, a flat tire, something, anything. It was a text message from my mom. Sweetie, congratulations. We are so proud of you. We're watching the live stream on the university's website. You looked beautiful walking across that stage. I stared at the screen. The words blurred. Watching the live stream? Another message popped up, this one from my dad. Sorry, we couldn't be there in person, Maya. You know how it is. Chloe had a little crisis. We'll make it up to you, I promise. We'll take you out for a fancy dinner next week. Chloe, my older sister. Of course, the hope didn't just die. It curdled into something cold and heavy in my stomach. A crisis? What was it this time? A broken nail? A bad hair day? A dramatic fallout with a boyfriend she'd probably break up with in a week? I didn't reply. I just stood there. In the middle of the flowing river of happy families, a statue of disappointment. My best friend Sarah found me, her face a mixture of confusion and dawning anger. Maya, where are they? I just showed her the phone. Her expression tightened. No, she did not. Tell me Chloe did not pull another one of her stunts today, of all days. A little crisis, I whispered, my voice hollow. Sarah wrapped an arm around me. Come on, let's get out of here. We're going to get the greasiest pizza we can find, and you can tell me all the ways you're going to make them regret this. But I was already miles ahead of her. As I let her lead me away, my mind wasn't on pizza. It was scrolling back through a lifetime of empty seats. My 5th grade spelling bee, where I came in second, and they were at Chloe's impromptu art show, which was just crayon drawings taped to her bedroom wall. My 16th birthday dinner, cold and forgotten on the table because Chloe had locked herself in the bathroom over a failed math test. Every school play, every science fair, every moment I had ever wanted them to see me. Chloe's shadow was always there, longer and darker, swallowing me whole. The ride home was quiet. Sarah knew me well enough not to fill the silence with empty platitudes. She just let me stare out the window, watching the world go by. A world where other daughters were probably being hugged by their parents, their achievements celebrated. When I got to my small apartment, I'd moved out at 19, unable to take the constant drama at home. The silence was deafening. I dropped my robe and cap on the floor. The diploma case felt like a lead weight. I placed it on the coffee table and just looked at it. And that's when the quiet snap in my heart was replaced by a new sound. A low, steady, determined hum. It was the sound of a decision being made, a line being crossed. They were proud of me? They were going to make it up to me with a fancy dinner? No, this wasn't about a missed graduation anymore. This was about every missed moment. Every time I had been the afterthought, the reliable one, the easy child who didn't need the attention. This was about the ledger of my life, and it was finally, catastrophically, in the red. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I was done with all that. I was going to make them regret it, but not with anger, not with a dramatic scene. That was Chloe's way. It was cheap. It was temporary. My way would be different. It would be calm. It would be calculated. It would be permanent. I sat down at my laptop. The screen glowed in the dim room. I opened a blank document. At the top, I typed 2 words. Project Regret. This was no longer just about my feelings. This was a mission. I would expose the fragile ecosystem of our family for what it was. I would show them, once and for all, what they had lost in their relentless pursuit to appease the squeaky wheel. I would become a ghost, the perfect daughter, vanishing before their eyes. And in my absence, they would finally see the shape of what they had done. The hook was set. The plan was beginning to form. And the first, most crucial step was to become absolutely, undeniably, unreachably successful. The first phase of Project Regret was simple: radio silence. For the first week after graduation, I didn't call, I didn't text. I let their messages pile up in my phone. Hope you're not still upset, Maya. Dinner this Friday? Mom, your mother is worried. Please call us. Dad. OMG, Mom and Dad are being so weird. Did you do something? Chloe. I read them all. I felt a cold, detached satisfaction with each one. They were noticing the silence. Good. Let them sit in it. When I finally did respond, a full 8 days later, was a masterpiece of benign neglect. I sent a group text to all 3 of them. So sorry for the radio silence. It's been absolutely crazy here. I landed an incredible job at Viridian Tech. It's a top firm in the city, super competitive, the onboarding is intense, and I'm working all hours to make a good impression. So proud and excited, talk soon. I crafted every word with care. Viridian Tech was a real prestigious company. The job was real. I'd been interning there for 6 months, and they'd offered me a full-time position as a junior analyst the week before graduation. But I presented it not as a piece of news, but as the reason for my absence. I was the dedicated, ambitious daughter, too busy with her brilliant future to be bothered by their petty dramas. The responses were immediate and predictable. Mom. Viridian Tech? Oh, honey, that's wonderful. We're so thrilled for you. Dad. That's my girl. Knew you could do it. Chloe. Cool. So, are you gonna be, rich now? I didn't reply further. I had set the stage. Now I had to live the part. I threw myself into my work. I became the first one in the office and the last one to leave. I volunteered for every extra project. My boss, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Anya, noticed. You've got a fire in you, Evans. I like it. What she saw as ambition was, for me, fuel. Every algorithm I mastered, every report I aced, was another brick in the fortress I was building around myself. A fortress they were not invited into. The promised fancy dinner came and went. I declined, of course. My excuse was a last-minute business trip. A lie. I was actually at home watching documentaries and eating ice cream with Sarah. This is diabolical, Sarah said, spoon hovering over the tub of chocolate fudge brownie. I love it. You're not yelling. You're just disappearing upwards. It's genius. It's phase 1, I said. Make myself a success story they can see but not touch. The next part was social media. I had never been a big poster, but for Project Regret, my online presence became a curated gallery of my wonderful parent-free life. Pictures of sophisticated dinners with my work friends, mostly just Sarah and a couple of colleagues, a check-in at a high-end networking event, a photo of the stunning view from my new, slightly better apartment I'd moved into using my first proper paycheck. The caption, "New view, new chapter, # blessed, # grateful." It was all true, but it was a performance. Every like from my mom felt like a point scored. Every comment from my dad, "Looks amazing, sweetie," was a confirmation that my absence was being felt. Meanwhile, Chloe's life continued its chaotic orbit. Through the family group chat and her own drama-filled social media, I watched the show. She'd dropped out of her third college course. She'd had a blowout fight with her latest boyfriend. She'd decided she was now an influencer and needed financial backing for a new camera. And my parents, like loyal servants to the crown, jumped every time. They paid for the camera, they mediated the boyfriend drama, they soothed her fragile ego. The contrast was stark. There I was, Maya, the self-sufficient success, and there was Chloe, the perpetual drain on resources. I wasn't pointing it out. I was just letting the two pictures hang side by side, waiting for them to notice the difference. The first crack appeared about 3 months in. It was a phone call from my dad. Unusual. He usually let my mom handle the emotional labor. "Maya, hi, you busy?" "Just finishing up some reports, Dad. What's up?" A long pause. "It's your mother. She's a little hurt." "Hurt? Why?" "She says you never call anymore, that you're always too busy for us. She saw your pictures from that concert last week and was upset you didn't invite Chloe." I had to physically stop myself from laughing. Invite Chloe? To a concert I'd gone to with Sarah? The idea was absurd. "Dad, I'm 22, I have my own life, and the concert was a last-minute thing with a friend from work. It wasn't a family event." I know, it's just, we miss you, kiddo." The word kiddo almost broke me. It was his old term of endearment for me, but I held firm. "I miss you too, Dad, but this job is really demanding. I'm trying to build a future here." Of course. We're very proud. I'll talk to your mom." He sounded tired, defeated. It was a small victory, but it tasted sweet. The ghost was making its presence felt. The climax of Phase 2 was my parents' 25th wedding anniversary party. A huge deal, a backyard barbecue with 50 guests. I knew I had to go. My absence would be too loud, too damning, but my presence would be on my terms. I showed up looking better than I ever had. I'd spent a significant portion of my paycheck on a simple, elegant dress. I looked professional, polished, and successful. I walked in with a bottle of expensive champagne and a calm, serene smile. The reaction was palpable. Aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in years fawned over me. "Maya, look at you. We heard about your job at Viridian. Your parents must be so proud." I would just smile and say, "Thank you. I've been very lucky." My mom clung to me at first, a desperate, possessive gleam in her eye. "Everyone is asking about you. I told them all about your fantastic job." But I was a mirage. I was pleasant, I was charming, but I was emotionally untouchable. When Chloe started crying because her potato salad wasn't getting enough compliments, I didn't roll my eyes. I didn't even look. I simply turned to my aunt and started a conversation about market trends. I saw my dad watching me from across the yard. He had a strange look on his face. It wasn't pride. It was confusion. As if he was seeing a stranger who vaguely resembled his daughter. I left the party early, pleading a big work presentation the next morning. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror. I saw my family, a blur of noise and motion, already reorienting itself around Chloe's latest meltdown. But I was no longer part of that gravity. I had broken orbit. I was a satellite, cool and distant, reflecting their own neglect back at them. The setup was complete. The conflict was simmering. They were feeling the ache of my absence, but the real betrayal, that was still to come. And it would come from a place they never expected. Success, as I was learning, is a quiet revenge. But Project Regret needed a catalyst, a final, undeniable act that would shift the balance of our family forever. That catalyst arrived in the form of a phone call from my grandmother, my mom's mother, Nana Rose. Nana Rose had always been my quiet ally. She was the one who came to my graduation when my parents didn't. She was the one who sent me secret $20 bills and birthday cards with notes that said, "For your dreams, my brilliant girl." Her voice on the phone was frail, which was unusual for her. "Maya, my dear, do you have a moment?" "Of course, Nana. Is everything okay?" A slow, shaky breath. "Not entirely. I need to change my will, and I need your help." I went to see her the next day at her cozy, book-filled cottage. She made tea, her hands trembling slightly, and then she told me about the ledger. It was a simple, leather-bound notebook, but inside it held a devastating accounting. For years, Nana Rose had been loaning my parents money. Thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands. "It started small," she explained, her eyes sad. "A few hundred for a new water heater. Then it was 5,000 when your father was between jobs. Then it was for Chloe's first semester at that private art school she dropped out of after 2 months. Then it was to pay off Chloe's credit card debt. It never stopped." I flipped through the pages. Dates, amounts, brief, clinical notes. Loan. Chloe's emergency trip to LA. Loan. New car after Chloe totaled the old one. The numbers made me dizzy. This was their secret. The dirty little engine that had kept the show on the road. My parents' middle-class comfort was a facade, propped up by my grandmother's life savings. "They always promised to pay me back," Nana Rose whispered. "But they never did. Not a cent. And now I hear them talking. They're planning to take out a second mortgage for Chloe. She wants to start a lifestyle brand. Whatever that is, they're going to lose their house, Maya, for that girl." I felt a cold, clear fury wash over me. This was beyond favoritism. This was financial suicide, and they were dragging my kind, generous grandmother down with them. "What do you need me to do, Nana?" I asked, my voice steady. "I'm leaving everything to you, Maya," she said, her gaze firm. "The remainder of my savings, this house, everything. I've spoken to my lawyer. It's being drawn up, but your parents? They'll be furious. They feel entitled to it. They'll say I've lost my mind." I took her hands. They were cold. "You haven't lost your mind, Nana. You finally opened your eyes, and so have I." This was the betrayal, not from me, but from them. They had betrayed Nana Rose's trust. They had betrayed my future by squandering what could have been a legacy for both their daughters. They had betrayed themselves for the sake of a daughter who would never, ever be satisfied. This was the weapon I needed. But I wouldn't wield it with anger. I would wield it with the cold, hard truth. Project Regret entered its final phase. I invited my parents to my apartment for a family meeting. I specifically told them not to bring Chloe. "This is between us," I said. My mom sounded nervous, my dad suspicious. When they arrived, they looked uncomfortable in my sleek, minimalist space. It was a world away from their cluttered, Chloe-centric home. "Maya, what's this all about?" my dad started, getting straight to the point. "Is something wrong?" "I had a visit from Nana Rose," I began, my voice calm. My mom's face immediately softened. "Oh, sweetie, isn't she getting forgetful? She called me last week talking nonsense about money." "It wasn't nonsense, Mom." I picked up the ledger from my coffee table and placed it in front of them. "She showed me this." My dad picked it up, frowning. He flipped a page, then another. His face lost all its color. This is private, Maya. This is none of your business. Isn't it? I asked quietly. When it's the money that was supposed to be my inheritance, yours and Chloe's? When you're planning to gamble your house on another one of Chloe's failed ventures? My mom gasped. How dare you? We have always taken care of you. We paid for your college. You paid for the first 2 years, Mom. I worked 3 jobs to pay for the last 2, and you skipped the graduation that crowned that achievement because Chloe had a crisis. Just like you've skipped every other important moment of my life. The dam broke. Years of pent-up hurt and anger didn't come out as a scream, but as a flood of calm, brutal facts. I listed them. The spelling bee, the 16th birthday, the science fair, the graduation. I didn't yell. I just recounted. You have spent my entire life teaching me one lesson, I said, my voice beginning to tremble despite my best efforts, that I am less important, that my achievements are less worthy of celebration, that my needs are an inconvenience. You created a monster in Chloe and you became her servants, and you lost a daughter in the process. My mom was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. That's not true, Maya. We love you both equally. No, you don't, I said, the truth hanging in the air, stark and undeniable. You love the idea of a quiet, easy daughter. You don't love me. You don't even see me. You never have. My father was staring at the ledger, his shoulders slumped. The proud, capable man I remembered from my childhood was gone, replaced by a tired, defeated stranger. Nana Rose is changing her will. I delivered the final blow. She's leaving everything to me, and I will not be bailing you out when Chloe finally bankrupts you. This ends now. The silence in the room was heavier than any I had ever known. I had laid my soul bare and presented them with the incontrovertible evidence of their failure. The revenge was not in taking the money. The revenge was in holding up a mirror and forcing them to look at the cracked, distorted reflection of the family they had built. They left without another word. The betrayal was complete. The plan was in motion. But as I watched them go, 2 broken figures retreating into the night, I didn't feel the triumph I had expected. I felt a hollow, echoing sadness because the final, most painful part of the plan was about to begin. The waiting. The weeks that followed were the quietest of my life. The family group chat was dead. My phone didn't ring. It was as if I had pressed a giant, cosmic mute button on my entire family. I focused on work, on my friends, on building a life that was truly my own. I started therapy, finally unpacking the lifetime of baggage I'd been carrying. It was painful, but it was a constructive pain. It was healing. I didn't hear from my parents, but I heard from Chloe. Of course. She showed up at my apartment door, her face puffy from crying. How could you do this to Mom and Dad? She shrieked the moment I opened the door. They're a mess. They're talking about selling the house. You turned Nana against us. I didn't let her in. I stood in the doorway, a calm barrier against her storm. I didn't do anything, Chloe. I just showed them the truth. The truth? The truth is that you're a selfish, jealous bitch. You've always been jealous of me. I looked at her, really looked at her. Not as my tormentor, but as a sad, stunted woman who had never been told no, and I felt pity. No, Chloe, I said, my voice quiet. I'm not jealous. I'm free, and you're still in your cage, the one they built for you, and I honestly hope you find your way out one day. I closed the door on her stunned, speechless face. It was the last time I would see her for a long time. The true reckoning came about 2 months later. It was a Saturday morning. My doorbell rang. It was my dad, alone. He looked older. He'd lost weight. His eyes held a depth of sorrow I had never seen before. Can I come in? He asked, his voice rough. I nodded and led him to the living room. He didn't sit. He just stood, looking at the view from my window. Your mother, she's not well, he began. She hasn't been getting out of bed. The doctor says it's severe depression. A lump formed in my throat, but I stayed silent. After our talk, he continued, we had to have a long, hard look at ourselves, at our life. We canceled the second mortgage. We told Chloe she's on her own financially. It didn't go well. She's moved in with a friend. She's not speaking to us. He turned to look at me, his eyes glistening. You were right, Maya. About everything. We failed you. Spectacularly. We were so busy putting out the fires Chloe started that we never noticed we were letting our other daughter freeze in the cold. He broke down then. This strong, stoic man sobbing in my living room. I am so sorry, baby girl. I am so, so sorry for the graduation, for every empty seat, for not seeing you. I didn't go to him. I let him cry. He needed to feel the full weight of it. Nana Rose showed me the ledger, he said, wiping his face. We paid her back, Maya. Every last penny. We sold the boat. I took on extra consulting work. It's done. It's all gone back to her. It was the first right thing we'd done in years. That was the moment my own walls began to crack. The apology was one thing, but the action was everything. Why? I whispered, the first question I'd asked in a long time. Why was it always her? He sighed, a deep, weary sound from his soul. It was easier. Chloe's needs were loud. They were emergencies. Your needs were quiet. They were optional. We took the path of least resistance, and we lost our way. We lost you. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, worn velvet box. He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was my grandmother's locket, the one she always wore, the one I'd admired since I was a little girl. Nana Rose wanted you to have it, he said. She said to tell you that the ledger is closed. For good. I clasped the locket in my hand, the metal warm against my skin. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said honestly. Not yet. I don't expect you to, he replied. I just needed you to know that I see you now, Maya. I see the strong, capable, incredible woman you are, and I am more proud of you than I have words for. He left soon after. I stood at the window, watching him drive away. The war was over. There were no winners, only survivors standing in the wreckage. Time is a strange thing. It doesn't heal all wounds, but it gives you the space to build scars strong enough to live with. My relationship with my parents is different now. Cautious. It's being rebuilt, brick by painful brick, on a foundation of brutal honesty. It will never be the relationship I dreamed of as a little girl, but it's real. My mom is in therapy too. We have lunch sometimes and we talk about books, not about Chloe. Chloe is still Chloe. She flits from one scheme to another, but the endless funding has dried up. She has to face the consequences of her own actions now. It's a hard lesson and she's still learning it. I hope for her sake that she does. As for me, I found my peace. I didn't need their regret to validate my worth. I learned that the most powerful revenge is not destruction, but construction. I constructed a life I love, a life built on my own terms with my own two hands. The empty seat at my graduation was a painful void, but it taught me the most valuable lesson I will ever learn. Your value isn't determined by who shows up for you. It's determined by you showing up for yourself. Sometimes the people who are supposed to be your anchor are the storm you have to survive. And sometimes surviving that storm makes you the captain of your own ship. A ship strong enough to sail any sea, no matter how rough the waters, guided by the unshakable knowledge of your own strength. The ledger is closed. The project is complete. And I am finally completely free.